Hey, what's up? So what I want to do is break down for you what I'd recommend as a fueling strategy for your first marathon. There's a lot out there on the internet on what to do, whether to use a drink mix, whether to use gels, what gels to use, whether to use whole foods, all those different things. And I want to simplify it down to you to an adjustable plan that you can use for your first marathon to make things as easy as humanly possible. And so there's going to be a couple parts to this video. One is going to be the carb load leading up to the race. Two is going to be the morning of your race. And then three is going to be actually during the race. How are you going to fuel? What are you going to take? And when are you going to take it? So first, let's start out with the carb load. So for a lot of my ultra marathons, to be honest, I didn't carb load that much because especially when you're doing like 200-mile races, it's different because you are literally going for so long, your heart rate is so much lower, so you're burning more fat, all those kinds of things. So, and I was on a low carb diet at the time. But what I really learned from marathons is, especially if you're trying to push the fastest pace possible for a marathon or a half marathon, you got to get in your carbs. And so what I did, my coach, Jeremy Miller, my good friend, he helped me get this sub 3. What we did is 3 days leading up to this race, we did a carb load. And so I took about 690 grams of carbs per day leading up to the race. So on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then had the race Sunday. And what this carb load is mainly for is to top off your glycogen stores so that when it gets late in the race, you have that base, they're topped off. And obviously you have to fuel during the race to help keep those up. But this puts you in the best possible position to not bonk like a lot of people talk about at mile 18 or 20 when they're doing a marathon. So I'm gonna jump into the calculator on how you can get the number to like how many carbs that you should take leading up to your first marathon. So let's hop in there and then we'll be right back. Okay, so here is the calculator I'm talking about from Featherstone Nutrition. Carb loading, what, why, how to, all of that. You can read this, but I won't go through that. What I want to get to is the calculator. So put in your age, put in your height. I'm 6'2", so that's 74 inches. I weigh about 190 pounds, doing a marathon. Oh, and then which do you want to do, a 2-day or 3-day carb load? I recommend 3-day because honestly, it's really hard to get all the carbs you need in 2 days. So I did 3-day. Let's see, so 684 grams of carbs per day leading up to the race for 3 days. So my race is on Sunday. I'm going to do 684 grams from Saturday. I'll do it Friday and then also Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that's 3 days, and then the race on Sunday. But if I were to do a 2-day, it would want me to do 1,025 grams of carbs, which honestly for me is very, very difficult. And especially before my Jersey City marathon, I was only doing like a carb cycle between 300, 150, and 75 grams of carbs per day. So yeah, that would be a huge jump. So I do the 3-day, and you get that by just putting your information into the calculator, which I'll link below this video. Okay, so now that you got your carb load numbers, how many carbs that you're gonna take 3 days leading up to the race, I wanted to give you just some kind of best practices because I've made a lot of mistakes. For instance, for one of my 100-mile races in 2022, I ate a ton of pasta and stuff the night before. And if you eat the night before, you have an early race the next day, yeah, it's gonna come out at some point. And so I had to go on the trail. It was not fun, not pretty. What you need to take away from that is don't eat a ton the night before. So get in a lot of carbs Thursday, get a lot of carbs Friday, Saturday, get in a lot of carbs. But as the day progresses, just eat less and less. Still have a dinner, but don't have this huge feast, or else it's gonna come out at some point, and hopefully not during your marathon. And so that's that. Then let's jump into race morning. So when you're on the morning of the race, you want to get up a couple hours before the race. I think I got up like 2 hours before the Jersey City Marathon. Some people like to get up at 3 hours. What I like to do is I like to read my Bible and then immediately start drinking electrolytes. And so what I do is I put 2 scoops of Switchback electrolytes in this bottle. It's like a 16-ounce bottle. Just start sipping on that in the morning. And I want to finish that, I don't know, like an hour before the race. So in addition to 2 scoops of Switchback in here, I also put a Maurten drink mix 160 in here. Maurten doesn't encourage you to combine them, but I don't think it's a big deal. So I combined 2 scoops of Switchback. I'll drop links to all these below, but 2 scoops of Switchback in this bottle with this Maurten drink mix. And then I also did a Maurten solid, which I'll put a picture of right here. And Maurten solid, like 225 calories, 160 calories. So I think that's like 380 or so. And this is like 25 grams of carbs and maybe, I don't know how many exactly that is, but it worked for me. And then so I did that, and then I went to the race with holding this bottle, and my plan was I had finished this, so I'd already been 2 scoops in, and then I had this in my hand. My plan was to drink this the first 13 miles of the race, and all this had was just 2 scoops of Switchback electrolytes. Each scoop has 1,000 milligrams of sodium. And I did this because I didn't want to get slowed down by the aid stations, because if you're at a big race, I mean, Jersey City, there's 7,000 people, everyone trying to grab water and stuff from the stations, not fun. And so I used this for the first 13, because then after that, after the first 13, it really spreads out, so there's not as many people going at the aid station. So that's that. I brought this to the starting line, and then I also brought a bunch of Maurten 160 gels with me. Some people use Goo, I use Spring Energy for ultra marathons, but what I found is the Maurten gels are really easy to digest. They're simple, super simple sugars. They just digest super quickly. And essentially, now we're getting into during the race fueling with this, 2 scoops of electrolytes during the race. And then I was taking a Maurten 160 gel. I took it right before the start, like with a minute before the start. And then I took one every 4 miles. So 4, 8, 12, 16. And I think I took, instead of like 16, I did 17. And then I took a caffeinated gel at like 21. But I honestly was like 1 short. I would have done 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 5 gels during with this, but I had 1 less. So yeah, that's what I do every 4 miles, and then weave in a caffeinated gel. Make sure that you test having caffeinated gels beforehand. It helps me get a little boost of energy before the end of the race, but I know it can throw some people off. So that is the during race strategy, between 2 scoops of electrolytes in here, and then the caffeinated gel, and then the Maurten 160s. One thing I forgot to mention is that before the race, you may or may not be a coffee person. I highly recommend finding a way to make sure that you're going to go to the bathroom before the race. Also, insider scoop, if you really don't want to go to the bathroom during your race, go buy this stuff called Imodium. It'll help clog you up, and yeah, it will help, because no one wants to go and have to use the bathroom during a marathon, especially if you're trying to go for your fastest time. But if you're doing your first marathon, what I would recommend is just focus on getting it done, because it's so hard to try and achieve the best possible time the first time you do something. So I always tell my athletes, I tell people I talk to, people I coach, like, for your first one of any distance, just get it done and then optimize from there. So that is my fueling strategy, how I would fuel for my first marathon, so that you can fuel properly for your first marathon. So hope this helped. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be dropping a lot of more videos like this.